Welcome in, everybody. So good to have you here tonight. This is episode 5 of Redeeming the Time. We have a very special guest for you, and I'm going to get to them in a second. But I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. I know I've been away for a long time. It's been probably over a month and a half or so since I streamed. Uh, Going through some personal stuff. As many of you know, my wife had cancer, and she made it through that great, and all things were good. And unfortunately, we had a little bit of a scare when she went for a regular checkup. The doctor thought that maybe the cancer had come back and had spread. Thankfully, that was not the case. After some pretty extensive testing and consulting with her surgeon, it was found out that the things they were seeing showing up on the MRI were actually scar tissue and normal, kind of things you see after the type of surgery she had. So we are super thankful. We are blessed. And I'm so happy to be back. As you can imagine, we went through a lot with that emotionally, and also physically she was having some different complications, but all that's taken care of. I think we're in good shape, and I'm so happy to be back. And I think I couldn't be happier about our guest tonight. It's none other than our very first guest, Rebel Aviator. He has come back and so gracious to do the show again, and I'm excited. Things have changed pretty drastically in his life here recently. All good, but I'm interested to talk to him about that and to talk about whatever we get into tonight. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring him in, and y'all give him a warm welcome. How you
Hello,
doing,
hello.
bro? How you doing, sir?
How you doing, buddy? I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Long time no see.
I know, right? It's crazy. Oh man.
All right. So, last time we were here was my very first episode. We weren't using the same program that we are now. So unfortunately, if people go back and watch that, they can watch that on my YouTube channel. The audio is kind of garbled, and that really stinks because you said a lot of good things. And so hopefully we run it back and we won't have any of those issues. You look great. You sound great to me. Hopefully it sounds good to everybody out there. But how
Yeah.
are you, my friend?
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm blessed and still vertical. So that's the best thing.
Hey,
Uh so it's been quite the ride the last few months since we last did this. As most people remember, I retired medically from the military, and we decided to set foot into the Kansas land, and we've been here since July. We've been here since July, and got a new job. So streaming's been good since we've been here. Then I started my new job, so I kind of took a little break back so I can reassess how work and streaming is going to go, since this is my first civilian job I've had in about 7.5 years. So got to get used to that 9 to 5. No more 12, 16, 24s anymore.
yeah, so it's a major difference. That's kind of a few things I wanted to talk to you about anyway. So when we last spoke, you were still active duty. I think you were still active duty, yes, at that
Yeah,
point. You
I
you
was.
you were waiting to retire, but you were still active duty at the time. You were on the East Coast. You were stationed in Virginia,
Hmm.
and you get that DD 214, and then you decide I don't like the East Coast anymore. I'm going way far away, and
Yeah,
you went all the way
exactly.
out to where you're at now. You want to tell everybody where you're at?
Yeah, so I'm currently residing in Kansas City, Kansas. Literally smack dab in the middle of the great United States. The reason for that was I've been stationed on both East and West Coast, and I don't care for either of the coasts. So I said we're going to the middle of nowhere. Um, and it's fairly similar to where I used to live back in Indiana. Very very copy paste. Prayer, long stretches of crop. um, you could see for miles. It just reminds a lot of it. It reminds me a lot of home, even though it's not home. But the fun thing about that is we were me and my wife, we were taking the back roads and we rolled down the windows and we just smelled like fresh cut grass and freshly baled hay, and it was just a flooding of emotions. Like we miss those smells, and you don't think about the things you used to have back home. You took them for granted, and now you are definitely enjoying more of the things that you miss. So we enjoyed the back roads, and being back in the countryside, and we've been welcomed here with open arms, here in Kansas City, and it's been great. New job's been going well, fairly similar to what I did in the military. Just don't have to work the 12s or the 24s anymore, so I'll take.
Nice. So, what's that transition been like, though? People that have been in the military get it. For those who are listening or watching tonight, there may be some that really don't understand. I know for myself, it took a while after I got out of the military because it's just the way your mind works, the way you've always done things,
Mhm.
and then there's that shift. How has that been for you?
So it took a minute. Where I was kind of blessed in the limited duty aspect was kind of like a half step towards going back to civilian life.
Yeah.
But when you leave the military, and especially if you were of a higher rank and you were saddled with like responsibility for others, you try to find something to replace that, and it's hard to replace that um responsibility. Like, you can have your responsibilities as a father, a husband, or a spouse, or a significant other, but when it's, you know, given to you by rank, it's a lot different than saying like, "Oh, my responsibility to me for me is to my wife and my house and my children, and stuff like that." So, it's hard to kind of separate from what is being ordered of you to what is now your natural role in life as a provider, a caretaker, and a mentor of sorts. So it was really hard. I won't even lie. There was plenty of nights where I stayed up till the sun came up because my mindset wasn't right. I was drinking a lot to because it's a coping mechanism that I used to
Mhm.
have was, excessive drinking. Not drinking was like to celebrate or anything like that, but excessive drinking to numb the pain. So the thing of it was is I thoroughly have to thank the support network of people I had, where if they saw me in my Discord and I was just no one there but me, and I wasn't playing a game, or I was just sitting there listening to music, trying to like gather myself, they would come in and say, "Hey, are you okay?" And then, you can just open up and talk to someone about it. A big thanks to my community members, you as well, Redeem. I know we've got each other's numbers, and you've always told me it's like, hey, you need some, you call me, you text me, whatever, I got you. And in that sense of like camaraderie, has never really left. So
Yeah. Mhm.
that's the one blessing about transitioning is that the camaraderie, the brotherhood, it doesn't go away. It's just a little harder to find. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, it was rough. I think I'm in a better spot now. Now that I've kind of set myself like, okay, I know I'm going to work. I'm able bodied enough to go to work and provide for my family, and that is my role in my current life is to be the caretaker, the provider, and continue on with what I'm supposed to be doing. So when I was able to assess that role and say this is my role because I choose this role, not because it is forced upon me. I chose this role, and now I have to continue to progress forward in this new role.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like it was a little bit to work through, but you've kind of got your sea legs, so to speak, under you
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
and you're you're full steam ahead now.
Yeah.
You're in a good space, and that's good to hear. And I will say for the people out there, even though Rebel was going through a lot of these things, like you said, he has my number, I have his. He was texting me, checking on me, and that means a lot when you're going through really hard times. When people reach out to you, so I know we're both big proponents of mental health and being there for other people. So just want to say thank you for all that you do, not only for me, but for your community. And just to encourage other people out there, pick up the phone, reach out to your brothers and make sure, they're okay. Because life can be tough at times and you never know what people are going through unless you ask. So,
Yep. That is
yeah,
100% true. And people have gotten really good about hiding their true feelings or what they're going through, you know, some small dark humor or out of characteristics things like doing stuff that they would never do. So some of the telltale signs are harder to see now with our current technology advancements and all that. So you definitely, I still highly encourage sending a message out to your buddies or your pal or anyone and just saying, "Hey, are you okay? If no one's told you today, I'm proud of you and I'm glad you're here." And sometimes it's just that one little phrase that means the world to someone, even if um they don't know what it is they're going through, they can for certain understand they have a safe place to uh rely on someone, rest their head on or lean on someone inside of that support network.
100%. I always end my streams by saying, even a kind word can change one day. And I've experienced that in my life. You can be in a really low moment and just that text or that phone call or that direct message that says, "Hey, was thinking about you today," or "How are things going?" And it can really, really make a difference. So,
Hmm.
um, I'm glad things are looking up for you now, and you got a new job, which is
Yes, sir.
exciting. I know that was one of the things that was really kind of weighing on you moving across the country and
Mhm.
finding a place to live, finding a new job, leaving your military career behind. It's a big transition, and so
Yep.
I
And that's kind of the thing. Like when most people get out of the military, they kind of just stay where they're at and they don't think about like progressing forward. Like some of them, like I'd say a good 75% go back home where they started because it's natural. It's natural
Mhm.
to go home. It's natural to go back to what you understand. But the 25% that either and even at that, it's like, do you stay in your where you discharge from, or do you uh venture out on something new and brand new and unknown and make a stake for yourself, make your own path. My biggest thing was I didn't want to go back home. That completely defeats the purpose of joining the military and traveling the world. Um, so I was almost in pardon the phrase hell bent on not going home. So,
Yeah,
um, but it meant something to me to not go back home because then it's like you started, if you counted home as square one, you just went back to square one. What did you accomplish from square, one to a million, and you came right back to square one? No, that board is, just like the Monopoly board. You can either go straight to jail or you can go pass home and collect $200 and keep on rolling. Luckily I didn't end up in jail. So
so you could have called me, but that's a
yeah,
plus.
yeah, exactly. If if nothing else, like the analogy is not lost. Like you can go past home, and whatever's on that horizon is meant for you. And change will always be scary to anyone.
100%.
So whatever, and my grandmother always said it right. Change is always scary, but change is always a good thing. It may not seem good at the time, but change is always for the best because it's how you grow, it's how you learn, it's how you adapt and battle through these trials and tribulations that are presented to you. So, change is always a good thing, whether you like it or not. Change will
Yeah.
happen. So,
Like you said, it stretches you, it forces you to grow, to be uncomfortable, and being uncomfortable at times is the best thing that can happen to you because
mhm,
it really makes you dig deep and find out what you trust in and lets you see what's inside of you. And yeah, I would agree with that. Change is a good thing. You know, we can get stuck in routines for long patterns of time, and it just becomes mundane and kind of boring and
mhm.
safe. So
Yeah, complacency is pretty much the stagnation of growth. So, like, I understand getting into like a daily routine, but even your daily routine has some small changes that you have to adapt to. Like your commute to work could be 25 minutes, but guess what? There's a wreck on the road, so now you got to take an extra 5-minute detour. So, change happened.
it
So,
happens.
um, having a good plan in place was another thing that, the military is one thing that just hammers it home, like, have a plan, have a backup plan, and have a backup plan to said backup plan. And that's one thing that I was really fortunate that the military taught me was to always have plan A through Z in case of emergencies. So,
Right.
it definitely worked out, but in this case for transitioning back to civilian life, there's not much that they can provide it. It is kinda like, "Hey, thank you for your time. Here's your, DD-214. Thanks for playing the game. Sorry everything happened to you. The VA's right there. See yourself out," kinda deal. Um, but
Good luck.
yeah,
Good
good
luck.
luck. Yeah, pretty much. "Here's your stuff. Here's the blue line. Good luck. Have fun."
Yeah.
Um,
I will say for those who don't know, it's you know it, our government support of our veterans is not top tier. I guess that's the nicest way I can say it. If you've ever had to go to the VA and wait forever for appointments or get, you know, just shuffled around, it's not a good deal, not a good time.
right.
So, but you know, as you say, just makes you stronger. You
Yeah,
just keep going.
it really does. Like I haven't had to I've been trying to navigate the system for a few months and it's a little convoluted, but the good thing is that veterans help veterans because they know they've been in it, they know it, they understand it more than you do off the rip. So that's kind of nice to have that again, that support network that we talk about a lot. So if I had a question about XYZ inside of that system, I have a buddy that I can just shoot a text to and say, "Hey, I'm having a problem with this. Can you help me?" And they would uh, respond back when they got the time because everyone does have lives outside of a text. So and that's kind of the thing about like the current state of the world is it's a lot of it's instant gratification. So
Oh yeah.
if I ever send a message, I never expect a reply back within like 10 or 15 minutes, especially during like the hours of like 9 to 5 or 9 to 7, right? Everyone's got their time frames. So like, I was like at that point, I was like, "Alright, they'll see it when they see it, and it's not a pressing matter right now, or nothing's gonna be, handled within that time frame that I'm needing the help, so we'll try again tomorrow."
Unless you're like me, who sees a text message and tries to respond immediately, because if not, ADHD kicks in, and I'll return your reply in 7 to 12 business days,
Yeah, it
maybe.
is.
That's just
That's how my laundry works too, is like, washing and drying washing first, takes about an hour, drying and folding about 7 to 10 business days, honestly.
Mm,
It's most of the
same,
morning, just get up, just grab one
same.
out of the dryer, it's good to go.
My wife and I have gotten to the point where we've got it down to like as soon as it comes out of the dryer, we'll sit down and we'll fold it and we'll put it in the basket, and then it will sit in the basket on top of our dressers, not in the drawers, but on top of the dresser for the
Yeah.
rest of the week. So I mean,
Uninten
we're progressing. We got it folded, but
Yeah.
still,
An attempt was made. That's all that matters, honestly.
it's close. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's kind of the thing that like I struggled with a lot was executive dysfunction. A big part of like the military was like you have a rigid schedule and set tasks within a certain schedule that you have to maintain. When you're left to your own devices,
Dangerous.
some sometimes like, oh yeah, I definitely need to do all these dishes. Well, I mean, I got a pretty big sink. I can do it tomorrow. And then executive dysfunction comes in. And like especially during a move, right? You got all your stuff unpacked. You're like, I gotta put this over there, and then you're just like, ugh, where do I start? And it's just trying to find the starting point. And what executive dysfunction is just all of your tasks that you have to
Mhm.
complete, but you don't know which one to start in the timely manner, which, like object A will take 5 minutes to put away. But if I do that, then what's object B? What's the next order of operation? Kind of like that. So if you don't know what it is, now you do. So you learned something today. So if you came to a stream to get encouraging words and learn, you're in the right spot.
Right. So I I have ADHD as well, and that's one of the biggest things for me is I used to install heating and air systems. So there's a certain order that all that has to happen in. That's best practice, basically. And I would start where I should have started, but then this piece over here is calling out to me, and so I go over there and I leave this and I go and then I do everything. I can't think linearly. I can't even say that word right, but you know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, no.
Like, and yeah, actually, the executive dysfunction kicks in, and it's like you don't even know how to start because your mind's spinning. So it's fun times, good times.
Yeah.
On that note, though, I do have a mental health appointment coming up in October. Was the earliest I could get in, but hopefully we get some progress on the ADHD because I've just kind of white knuckled it my whole life, and yeah, maybe it's time for
Yeah.
some help.
I'm definitely needing to be I think I have like undiagnosed I don't think ADHD, but like ADD for certain. Like if I'm at work, I can function just fine. Like I have a task, they give me my task, I can function there, but outside of the 9 to 5, I'm lost in the sauce. Um
Yeah,
so that's why I've told my wife, it's like, look, if there's something you need me to do, you need to tell me while I'm on the road. That way it's stuck in my head and I've got a 25-minute drive to work or drive home. So I'm like, okay, I know that's what I need to do when I get home so I can complete that task. So
yeah,
there's ways to work around it without medication if you're definitely like a holistic person who doesn't want to be super reliant on medications other than like to pain relief or um, fevers or stuff like that. Totally fine, you do you. But those at some level of ADD, ADHD, you do need to have medication to function. I know my wife suffers from ADHD, and it's to the point if she is not on her medication, she will. I call it squirreling off. So she'll uh she'll jump off into like 5 or 6 different projects, and I was like, "What? Why didn't you finish this project? You were so close to being done." She's like, "It just didn't entice me." So she jumps off into another one. So
I
this is
I can identify with that so hard.
yeah, right. It's like I get it. Like I understand, and by no means was I like, harping on her to finish this. Like, oh, I understand. Being I've been together with my wife for 14 years, so I
Yeah,
um I understand it. So over the course of time, understanding like the signs of not being medicated versus medicated makes more sense now. So when something doesn't get done that she said that she was going to do, and then I say, "Hey, why didn't you finish that?" and she explains, it's like, "Okay, totally fine. Guess what? It's not the end of the world because you didn't finish that project." So I take a little step and look back at myself, like, why did I task her with doing this? Yada yada yada. So on and so forth. Um, but it comes down to just understanding that, we're all in this together. So where she can't follow through with things, I will come through and help her follow through with things. So, um, I don't know how I follow through with most of my stuff, honestly. I think I honestly autopilot a lot. So, I know at some points when I used to drive long distances to work, the first 30 minutes are like a blackout. I literally focus back and I'm like, oh, how'd I get here? Just kind of like that. So,
Yeah, I used to
uh,
drive tractor trailers, and I wasn't over the road. It was just like regionally, so I would drive 3 to 4 hours to different spots, and I could literally get 2 hours in and just kind of to and be like, "This is scary." Like I'm all the way here, and I don't remember any of the trip whatsoever.
like an out of body experience.
Yeah, good times, good times.
Yeah, yeah, don't recommend, but hey, it happens, so we're here. Oh man. But
Uh,
yeah,
yeah, we got off on a whole ADHD rant.
hey, we ADHD'd ourselves. How about that?
I'm bad. You get me going, I will squirrel it up quick.
Hey, I'm here for it though, honestly. Some
Well,
that's the spice of life there, man.
yeah, just like you were saying, like, how you kind of gotten used to the way your wife's mind works. My wife is finally coming to grips with me because it can get really severe. I've left. She's come home and the kitchen sink has been running since I left in the morning. She leaves a little bit before I do,
Mm.
so I got up, started fixing my lunch. Then I was like, "Oh, I gotta wash the peanut butter off the knife." I stuck the knife under the water, but then the refrigerator was open, so I dropped the knife, walked over, shut the refrigerator, then the dog was barking, and so I went over there and literally left the house without my lunch and with the water running, and that's just
Oh
there's a
man.
I attribute it to, like, having several tabs open on your computer and there's a heavy metal song playing in the background at the same
Spotify's
time.
just on full blast.
It was a yeah, it's good times.
And that's like a lot of it could be like sensory overload too. Like
Yeah.
I think the maximum amount of tabs I've ever had on my computer at one time has been 13 tabs on one window, and then another window I had to open because I didn't remember where my other windows were. So, and then another 13, and then I just squirreled away from that. So it was quite the interesting way of shutting down the PC that day. So it was like, why are there so many things running right now? I don't understand. And then I'm just like, oh, well, that's what happened. That makes sense now.
Yeah,
It
that's
just comes back to haunt you.
that's kind of what the inside view of a ADHDer's mind is like. Just several tabs open at once, and yeah,
Just
but
full blown music in the background.
yeah, good times. But we've gotten way off topic. We came here to talk about you, but anyway,
Well, I mean, that's kind of the real. That's I mean, it's kind of there. It's I'm a crazy package, all wrapped up in one giant beard. That's it.
yeah, somebody commented earlier, it was a battle of the beards. So I was Rebels is much more fuller and just more regal looking than mine. So
I
we're gonna
mean,
give the
it's
award
more
to
of
him.
it's more of a lion's mane currently. I mean,
Yeah,
it's taken its own form and shape. I know that when we got here, I just hopped out of the shower and I was doing my routine and I just grabbed it and I just went all the way out and I found out that it's like all the way the hairs are this far away from my face. I was like, man, I look like and I attributed to you remember the Disney cartoon movie The Sword and the Stone, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, when Merlin pulls his staff out of his beard and it just comes back to his that's exactly what it looked like, just this giant ball of fuzz on my face. Um, but yeah, for those who don't know, you in the at least in the American armed services, you cannot have a beard without proper medical uh documentation. So on the Navy ship, you have to be clean shaven because of gas attacks or firefighting and stuff like that. So for 7.5 years, I had shaved my face twice a day, every day. So everyone's like, "Oh, why didn't you like keep up with it?" I was like, "I didn't like it. I hated how even a brand new razor felt on my face. After so long, you've built up a tolerance to it, but most people, when they get out of the military, the first thing they do is grow their hair long and grow a beard.
Yep.
So, and I've got a plan to do something with mine. I'm just waiting for the length of it to go there. Um, Bunch of stuff. Like I'm planning on doing braids in it with beads, and I think there was talks about bedazzling it one day. I don't know if that'll
Are,
happen.
are
Maybe
you
for
going?
charity.
Are you going full Viking on us?
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much. I'm just full sending Norse paganism practices, not necessarily the full theocracy, but at least in practice. I prefer to be more of a dwarf, honestly, because I love dwarves.
Yeah, yeah.
Built stocky, built sturdy, big sense of community, and can dig holes like no one's business, honestly.
The problem is you're not short.
That
People can't
is,
see you. You're not standing up. But when I met you in person, most people I have to look down to. You were right
yeah.
there.
Yeah, that is the curse of being the tallest dwarf in any sort of place. Um, but I think it also comes down to like thought, like how you perceive it, right? So like I could be a dwarf at heart, but I'm trying to reflect outward what I feel inwards. So that's what I kind of attribute to. Like I have dwarf mentality. I have dwarf at this point it'd be features, most dwarves have a very strong brow, like furrowed brow, and a decent size schnoz, and I feel like my schnoz is pretty decent size, honestly. It doesn't protrude; it's kind of pushed back, almost like a pug. So I had a few battles with doors. They kind of won, honestly. I'm
It
not gonna
happens.
lie. Doors suck.
Undefeated.
Yeah, I know. I keep looking over at this one. I was like, your days are numbered, buddy. I'll get you. I know the first day we moved into the new place, I was carrying something and I was walking down to put it down here in the basement, and I turned without trying to reach for the door handle first, and I hit the door with my forehead first, and I was like, well, so there's just this little oily stain on the on the white door. I'm just like, listen, we're gonna come down to blows, and I don't know about you, but I can replace you. But if I drop dead here, it's gonna be hard to replace me. Oh, man.
Uh, so we're talking about dwarves, which leads me into my next thing that I want to get into with you is D&D, or I guess tabletop gaming in
Mhm.
general. It's something that you have really gotten heavily. I'm assuming it's something that you've always been into, and I'll let you speak more to that. But you seem to have gotten more heavily into it as far as an element of your streaming. So you want to kind of give us your background on how you got into it and what you're doing with it now.
Yeah, so I first started playing Dungeons and Dragons roughly around high school. Um Back in, shoot, dang it, that's like 2003, 2002, all the way till now. I've always enjoyed the high fantasy of Dungeons and Dragons, and then starting to role play the game at the table with friends. A lot of it was just that when I went away for the military, the it was still there, but um it wasn't prevalent because I was more focused on my military career. When I came back and I had time to devote to it, we kind of jumped back into it. I was trying to remember a lot of it. So I was lucky enough that we were playing with a few close friends offline before streaming, before I even started streaming. Um, it was kind of the deal was, what am I going to do? I want to do this because it was such a big part of my life growing up as I enjoyed it. Um, then when we started doing that, I started streaming it, and it was just a capture. I was still a player. So I was just capturing what we were doing. I was role playing pretty well. Then I said to myself, like, I can be a dungeon master. I've done it before. Well, I started to do our first campaign, which was Rime of the Frost Maiden, and that's where, like, I understood more about production of it, because it's a lot. It's
Yeah.
hours of prep work for maps, it's prep work for getting all your people together. That's the hardest part, is just getting everyone on a time schedule. Um,
Right? Like
under
wrangling cats.
it really, oh, oof, geez, you are not kidding. But and it worked out. It did. Then I started meeting up with other TTRPG enthusiasts communities like Goblin Tuesday, Grimbeard Adventures, so on and so forth. And I enjoy doing like the way I do streams is, well, I play what I enjoy. And if people enjoy what I'm doing, then they'll come to you because you're enjoying it, right?
Yeah.
And I understand TTRPGs are not everyone's cup of tea. Totally understand that. It's not meant for everyone, but it is one of the more uh, inclusive communities where they don't care what background you come from. They all just want to come together and play a game and tell a story. So where you could forget about the worries of the day and just continue on and play the game. Have fun. It also kind of gives you the way to burst out of your shell, so to say, do something that you've never thought you would do in real life, right? There's some people who are very, you know, soft spoken and stuff, and they'll play some loud, boisterous character and they just go off and they have fun, but that's them breaking out of their shell. That's another thing I enjoy about Dungeons and Dragons or TTRPGs in general, is it brings you out of your shell and like you kind of lose inhibitions, right? You're not worried about what the other person is thinking of you in that moment. You're just playing a character.
Yeah. And what I really like about what you're doing is you're bringing a whole new element to it. I grew up playing D&D, got introduced to it in high school, and it was just a group of guys at my buddy's house, just sitting around the table and doing exactly what you're talking about. We were all different personalities, different walks of life, but we could come together and just have a good time based, loosely around a story that was being told, and just be whoever we wanted to be and just have a great time. And I love that aspect of it. What I think what's streaming has brought to it and technology has brought to it that's really cool is there's all things types of software and things you can use to enhance
Mhm.
what the viewers are seeing or even the players are seeing. And I'll let you explain all that, but there's maps that you can bring to life. There's characters that you can bring to life, both the actual role players and the NPCs, and of course dice and all that. So, do you want to talk about some of those aspects?
Sure thing. The big thing, and a lot of this spurred during the time of the pandemic. A lot of TTRPG enthusiasts used to always play in person, but thanks to the progression of technology, we now have what's called virtual tabletops or VTTs. So, the program I use is called Tailspire, which is where I can build maps, battle maps, worlds if I want to. The possibilities are endless. A lot of what we do, like if you were there for yesterday's session, I built a battle map of where we were going. Now I have the book that shows me the map, but instead of putting it on a 2D plane, it puts it on a 3D plane. So with that, it kind of adds a little bit of immersion to what most people see as pen and paper and a little grid, right? So that's the cool thing. And with Hero Forge and Eldritch, I think it's Eldritch Labs, you can create your own D&D mini and purchase it as for a virtual tabletop, and it's relatively cheap. And there's so many things you can modify to it, and it looks really nice. So, instead of like going out and buying a generic Ranger or whatever and spending like a few bucks there, you can have full customizability.
Customization?
Yeah, there we go. That's a good word. Squirreled. My thesaurus is broken today. I'll say that much. So, but yeah, with full customization of your character, you can do so much with that, and it kind of hits home for most characters when we do a story. Is I want them to be invested in their character because whether they survive or they die, you should feel connected to that. And like some people, they can have, disassociation with it. It's like, oh, it's just a character. I'll just roll a new one. Okay. Technically, yes, you can. But for certain long campaigns, yeah, you should be invested because one that just enriches the role playing that happens in a role playing game. And that's the fun part is just seeing people embrace their character that they have spent, probably a few hours building and understanding what it is. And they feel connected to that character. Another thing that we've done on ours is we've introduced, our channel points where you can either help or hinder the party. So, which has been fun. I enjoy it because not only are the players invested, but the viewers are invested. And if something epic happens and the party goes down, well, guess what? Chat can intervene and have fun with, you know, healing the party or anything like that. And it brings another connection level, not just from the broadcaster to the chat or the players to the chat. It's all about connection. And that to me is what I believe kinda sets myself apart, and I can't take full credit for that because my friends, Goblin Tuesday and Grimbeard Adventures, I saw that and I asked, I was like, "Is that cool if I borrow that?" And most things is all shared in the community. Like, no one's stuff is, a novel idea, or the original idea. Everyone's copied someone at some point, so it's, um, it's free game. So, I just introduced it, in our first campaign, Rhyme of the Frost Maiden, and after going through it, I do understand it's like, "Ooh, there's a lot I can redo," but that's the best part about learning and doing campaigns is understanding that, like, we're 18 sessions in, and I still remember session 2 where I was like, I should have done something different there." But
Yeah.
that's you kinda roll with it. You roll with the punches. Mine, the dice pun included, you do just have to roll with it.
Yeah. And I actually really love that aspect of it. I haven't been able to get in on a campaign. I'm hoping to get on one soon, just life, in general. But I'm hoping to get it into a future one. But it allows me to be part of the campaign in some small way. Some days I'm feeling really generous and I want to heal or get, or bless them. And other days, like last night I was a little naughty. I gave you some advantage.
Yep. And
You
those
know.
are those are not cheap by any stretch of the imagination.
No,
Um, they are
no.
definitely not. So, I do keep track of them. Like one of my other mods, like we track every one that's done a bless or a curse or a heal or a damage. Bless the DM. We keep track of that so we can try to make sure that the points are fair for your average viewer, right? So
Yeah.
um, I know back when I used to be very heavy into streaming, I used to do community challenges and community giveaways. And that's why a lot of people like still save their points because I still have, fairly lofty channel point redemptions. Most recently being the Hanger Bay hoodies and jersey giveaways for that. So they are still being worked on. But I do have like I literally have a little steno pad on my desk where I write down who's done what so I can, you know, fulfill my end of this, uh bargain that is streaming.
Yeah. I was so close to getting one of those coveted Hanger Bay merchandise things, but the D&D got me. I just couldn't stop.
Hey, sometimes you got to.
So I,
Um,
I think I was at 60 some thousand and I'm down to like 6,000 I think now. I just spent them all, but hey,
yeah,
you only live once and I can always buy a jersey. So
exactly, exactly. I mean,
but,
I'm still trying to cop some of that redeem merch. That sure is
hey,
clean.
oh,
Yeah,
check
I
out
love that shirt. That is
check
when
out the
you
merch.
yes, so plug here, plug in here now. But like, and that's the cool thing is it's like, um, I think I'll kind of go off on a tangent here. Is there's so many people within our shared community, and your community, my community is all now under the umbrella of the Hanger Bay, and there's just so much amazing people within that community that like if you needed something like drawn up or you need a spitball an idea, someone's definitely there to like be around and uh give their 2 cents on it. Now you got to kind of weed through all the sarcasm, but I mean it's genuine, it's there.
Yeah, 100%. So Rebel and I did. It's been a few months since we merged Discords. Merge is a really kind term on my part. I didn't have much of a Discord going. I had a lot of good people in there. I just wasn't very active, and so I decided to see, maybe people would be better off if we kind of merged. And Rebel was so gracious. His is very active. There's always people in there. Definitely check it out. Explanation Point Discord and my Twitch will bring you to that link, and you'll be able to join the Discord there. And great people there. So do yourself a favor, click on that and follow the link, and we'd love to have you. It is the hangar bay, and it's where all the cool pilots hang out.
Yep, exactly. I like that one. Put that on a shirt.
Right. I'll
Yes,
take
sir.
credit on that. No.
Yep, there you go. The check's in the mail. I got you.
Appreciate that.
Oh man, it's so good.
So you're what, 2 campaigns in now on D&D? Is that correct? And
This
you
our
are
second one.
how much time do you have left on this one? Is it is there a timeline, or is it just kind of till it plays out?
It's kind of just till it plays out. So depending on like how big the module is, because I run off modules. I'm currently building a homebrew where I'm building it from scratch. So
That was my next question.
yeah, that one's going to take a minute. But modules, they're pretty linear. So like currently we're in chapter 3, and I think out of 10 chapters in the main module that this is. Now this is meant to be a lofty campaign. And the book does tell you, it's like, oh, it's rated from like levels blank to blank, and that kind of gives you a judgment on how long it's going to be. Avernus is a big one, but it's such a good story to tell because of the implementations of like actual lore bits from the actual uh world that's in there. So everything, the one thing about D&D or Dungeons and Dragons in general is that the lore ties in with all their moduled campaigns. So in one part, um in this Avernus campaign, I had made mention of um, the fall of Waterdeep, which is another lore aspect. That's another module, the back in the back, which was the Mad Mage of Waterdeep, which is a very big, heavy lore aspect. So like big pinpoints in like a timeline is what most modules will run through. Avernus is a lofty one because it deals with other planes of existence, like hell, like your quote unquote like heaven and hell, where you have Mount Celestia as your quote unquote heaven, and the 9 hells being obviously hell, um, which makes sense. But it's lofty because the main story takes place on the first layer of Avernus. For the majority of it, like there's a few little bits where it kind of entices you to understand the the fall of El Terrell, which is a city, which is where they were like 2 or 3 sessions back, but why it fell. So there's a bunch of these little, I want to call them like preludes to the main story that you have to get through. But yeah, with 10 chapters, it's a pretty lofty campaign. Definitely not terrible for your first campaign. However, it's all in how you presented, because all of it is told by you, the dungeon master or the game master, and it's how you perceive it or how you are telling the story, right? You could be pretty bland about certain things, but for me, when I read the descriptor that's supposed to be from the DM to the players, I try to read it and then try to figure out ways to make it seem like, oh, well, this room you're in is very important. And if no one picks up on those inflections and those changing of the pattern to how I word things, you're not going to understand that. The other thing is that it's all about creativity, right? There's certain things that in our campaign where they weren't even in the book. I wanted to add flavor text and certain things, and you can ad lib, and that's the best thing about that you can veer off the linear path and be creative. Um, so what we did for mine was I had them write their backstories because I said, this is going to be a long campaign. I need to know your backstories. So they all gave me backstories, and then I made encounters based on those backstories, which
Uh,
kind of cemented that player to character relationship that they have with themselves. So that's just one little tool belt item that you can have as a dungeon master is understanding how your players react to certain situations.
yeah.
Also, I think a lot of it is honestly just pure dumb luck. I won't even lie. I have made some trash rolls in campaigns where it's like, this should have happened, but it didn't. And then this is what happened. So it is literally random.
It is. And I think that makes the story exciting at times.
It really does.
Uh, I would, and I'm sure you can speak to this, but I would say to people that have never maybe played a, tabletop RPG or don't even know what it's about, like they should really just put aside any preconceived notions. I know most of people's notion of D&D that have never played, like, oh, that's stupid nerdy thing. I think
Mhm.
Stranger Things kind of made it cooler.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
the
but
introduction into mainstream media. Also, like the new Dungeons and Dragons movie that came out
oh yeah,
recently
it was really good. It was
did a
actually really good.
really good job. Now there's a bunch of like nuances that are like, oh, well, the druid can't change into an owlbear. Well, yes, they can't, but it's also like that's where you kind of like, okay, that's Hollywood taking like creative license. Like, we're not gonna like tell this multi-million-dollar company like, no, you can't do that. It's not in the book. Like,
Right.
let them have their fun, and that's the point of D&D is to have fun.
Yeah.
And TTRPGs and journals, have fun. Yeah, you're not gonna have the greatest of roles on that, but guess what? It's about having fun in the moment versus the overall goal, right? It's like that's why people play certain games. Like you play it because you enjoy it. You don't play it because of the gotcha mechanic or anything like that. You play it to have fun. That's why I still play Halo. I play Halo to not sweat, but I play it because I enjoy Halo and I enjoy playing it with my friends. Whether we win or lose, I'm still having fun with my friends at the end of the night.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I would just gonna tell everybody, like, come out on a Wednesday night. Put if you've never watched, put your preconceived notions aside. Come out on a Wednesday night, or catch it on your YouTube, the replay on your YouTube, and give it a chance, because I can tell you, even this past week, the role playing was excellent. It's all theater of the mind. I mean, in this new day and age, there are visual aids that help enhance that, but the way that the story is told and the way that the players react to it's really like watching a movie unfold, and it's amazing, especially if you get to know the people and you're like, wow, they really did something out of character or stretched themselves, and to me, it's fascinating to watch. Even if you're not so much into the mechanics of the game, the story itself can be really compelling. And plus, there's a lot of just funny, random,
Yeah.
stuff that happens.
That's the best part. Is like you can ad lib all everything, 100% of everything in a game like that. And like I know, I think it was 2 or 3 sessions ago when they first got into Avernus, they met up with Mad Maggie and all that. And I had made this little joke about the one of the red caps, which is a monster in D&D, was they were grouped up together because I read the thing and said, yeah, this whole encampment is with red caps and these Kenkus and stuff. So I tried to play the theater of mind on that. So there's actually one part where they were picking on this madcap. The red caps were picking on the madcap. And one thing that I've learned that madcaps or red caps do is they like to missile drop kick anyone. So the funny part about that is like they were picking on a madcap named Kevin. And when you look at madcaps, they just look like this weird abomination. So he just got picked on a lot to the point of like we made a bunch of like inside jokes. There was definitely what was the movie with Mel Gibson and they're cops? I can't remember that movie now. Darn it.
Oh, with
Anyway,
Danny Glover and
yeah, Danny Glover. That's right.
Lethal Weapons.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon. There's a lot of Lethal Weapon things like they were saying like, oh, he's only like 3 days from retirement, and that was a running joke that we made. And that's the best part is like you can put a lot of like media stuff, like mainstream media happenings into a D&D game, and it's not lost on your players because your players understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
For people coming in, and I kind of want to touch on this a little bit. I've talked about it with our friends Grimbeard Adventures and Goblin Tuesday on our other pseudo podcast that we do called Between the Beards, where we talk a lot about TTRPGs and life in general. But the biggest thing that we tell newcomers to the TTRPG community, if you're aware of the existence of Critical Role or Dimension 20 and those dungeon masters who portray that, you are going to, if you think that your first session is going to be anything like those two, you are sorely going to be disheartened because no, those are dungeon masters of higher caliber because they've had years and years and years of time to perfect their craft. Also, they're professional voice actors. So, like, what are you going to do? So, like, we can all try to attain that level of creativity and stuff, but we will never be that. Like flatter or what is it? Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Uh, but what was it? There was another thing. Um, Lost it. So, but yeah, that's the thing. Understand that your very first game at the table is not going to be like Critical Role. For a seasoned dungeon master, it might be close, but it will never be Critical Role or Dimension 20. So just come into it with an open mind and ask questions. That's the best part is like most, if not all dungeon masters will take time to answer questions about newcomers to the hobby. So it's
Yeah.
definitely the best. It is the most inclusive, welcoming community that I've ever been a part of. And I try to reach that level of just, come one, come all, no matter what you're going through. It's Dungeons and Dragons time. Forget about the day, roll some dice, have some fun.
For sure. Yeah. At the end, I'll get you to, give all the times and days and everything for your campaigns. That way people be more apt to remember it. But I think we've shouted it out in the Twitch and it's streaming on the bottom of your screen. There's a QR code you can snap with your phone. That'll all lead you to Rebel's Twitch page. Do yourself a favor, check him out. He does more than just D&D. He games. He builds worlds and all kinds of things throughout the
Oh yeah.
week. So, but we'll get into all those details towards the end. There was something you touched on that I really was wanted you to speak on was that you are making your own campaign, a homebrew campaign, and of course that's going to take some time. You're literally creating whole worlds and scenarios from scratch,
Hmm.
and you've included your community in that. So that's another reason to get into Discord because you can actually vote and give ideas and actually affect the way this campaign and world are going to be built. So
Oh yeah.
uh, do that. But you want to talk more about the campaign?
Right. So the campaign that I've come upon is I wanted to create a world that wasn't like your standard Dungeons and Dragons. So we went ahead and picked out like eight gods and eight demigods and created a whole pantheon. So we start from like basically the Big Bang and kind of work our way into this. We have a small story, like the how the world became the way it is and the current way the world is at at present. um, but it's when I first ventured in on it, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know how to build to a degree. So I knew like from the start, I was like, the best way to start is at the beginning. So we started with, pantheons. We started with demigods that, roam the world. and then I felt like building the map or the continent or the world map would be kind of second nature after that. But there's been a little bit of everything. So for the basic synopsis is that there was one fallen deity who was, failed in battle, but he was generic evil, right? So the denizens of the world who followed him want to resurrect him through what's called a world engine. And we kind of added a little bit of stuff from the community as well. So like a lot of my people that like to play games, they're also big like mecha fans. So like Gundams and all that stuff. It's fun. So we added a little bit of that into there. So we 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 tried to make it to where it kind of fits both realms. So I had also a little bit of like Warhammer 40K in there because I enjoy Warhammer. And that's just a whole lore dump there. Ooh, that's a vast one. But we added a little bit of flavor from all sorts of like creative outlets. So to me, when I set out on this, and I still have the plan to go like after the new year of making session 0 and having a smaller party. That's the big thing is I have been running a table of 8 players for the last I wanna say about a year, and it's a lot on a single dungeon master to run 8 characters and their interactions. So I set it down to like 4 or 5 maximum. So with a smaller party, it's a lot easier for me to focus more on like storytelling and descriptors and stuff like that. So that's what I decided upon. But building the world is proving to be more of a challenge. It's not just like, oh, find an AI generator and generate a map. Well, there's certain things that I have to put in there. So I really have to draw the map by hand and then like add in all the flowery things like mountain ranges here and giant lakes over here, da, 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 so on and so forth. But in the end, it will be a labor of love. And whether it's received well or not was not the main point of it. It's something I wanted to do and bring another level of creativity to another platform such as Twitch. And enjoy the storytelling. I enjoy being a dungeon master, if nothing else, just to tell the story of how things happen and put my own little spin on things. So the creative juices definitely were flowing for that. I've had to obviously take a pause since life does happen. So
Mhm.
but it is still there and like it is July. We're almost in August now. So I got a little bit of time before session 0 in hopefully January, maybe February, depending on the weather. Because I know a lot of people are either going to be stuck out working in the weather, or they're not going to be making it home because of the weather. So, but we'll see. Once more, that information, like one thing I've always said is transparency. So once I got a hard date set and it's ready to rock and roll, then I'll play the date and see who wants to be a part of that campaign. And that will probably also be like a maybe an episodic thing, but I won't do it on my Wednesday streams for D&D. I'll probably pick another day and we'll set it for just that story itself. But yeah, and I plan on having like guest spots where like people like chat themselves can get involved with a channel point redemption saying I play as a guest character for one session and they can come in, they could play a character, or they could play an NPC and role play it, or they could be whatever they want. They just have to be creative. That's all that matters.
That's actually really exciting.
Yeah, right.
I really like that idea.
Yeah. I
Start saving my channel points.
yeah, you better save them channel points. It'd be worth it. But yeah, that's really what I've got going on for the time being. There's a bunch of other like RPGs that I want to run. Like I've got the Avatar Legends system, which if Avatar like the Last Airbender, not the blue people. So
Good
Aang,
distinction.
Korra, all that. I also have Deadlands Hell on Earth system, which is kind of like uh Fallout New Vegas meets Magic, basically. So it's
That
a
sounds
pretty
really interesting.
it's a pretty cool system. I still have to learn it, so I'm trying to do my best about saying, hey, I'm going to spend time and actually sit down and read how the mechanics work and understand the mechanics. Thankfully, it's an older system, like from the, I want to say like the early 90s. Um, so there's obviously like a YouTube video, like YouTube University or anything. Someone's played it, so they've like recorded it and they can tell you about how that works. And you can kind of get it from that point. But I'm also the problem is like I'm not necessarily a visual learner, I'm a hands-on learner. So
Yeah.
like I can listen to it, but it's probably gonna go in one ear, rattle around in this giant dome, and then maybe get pooped out on the other side of my head. But maybe it'll retain. I don't know. But another system to learn. I think me and Goblin Tuesday have been talking about getting the mutants versus masterminds or mutants and masterminds TTRPG as a collective. It's a good system. It's basically heroes and villains, kind of like your Marvel DC tropes and stuff like that. It'd be interesting to learn that one too. But I've also been learning Pathfinder with the current campaigns that I'm in with Goblin Tuesday on Fridays and Sundays as well. So a lot of learning, a lot of good stuff going out. And if you haven't checked out them, I know this Sunday I'll be there with our Starfinder campaign, which that's basically high fantasy space. So you can be a dwarf in space, which I am. I am a dwarf in space.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing people don't realize. Like maybe kind of the medieval thing isn't your cup of tea. You can literally play anything. I've been involved in the Vampire the Masquerade campaigns that were set in modern day. One of my favorite campaigns I ever played. It was really good. I've been in like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy campaigns, which was absolutely the most fun I've ever had. Just constant laughter the whole time. So there is something for everybody in TTRPG. So give it a shot if you haven't. I think you'd be surprised.
Oh yeah.
There is something for everyone out there, and if you find the right group of people, the right dungeon master or game master, whatever the case may be, you can have a good time.
Yeah.
I don't know how you are on time. We're a little over an hour in, but
Well, I mean, I'm on your schedule, man. You're the hour ahead of me.
okay. Well, I think I'm good for a little bit because I still got a few things transitioning away from Dungeons and Dragons. How long have you been streaming for currently?
This October marks 3 years.
3 years. Okay, wow. So I've been following Rebel for I think 17, 18 months, somewhere along that, and seen a lot of his journey. But being just about 3 years in, or really close, you can almost touch it. 3 years in. What have you learned through this process? What are some things that you wish you had known? And what the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm just thinking about the people that may be watching this that are either wanting to get into streaming or maybe feel stuck in what they've been doing, or somewhere along the timeline that we could help out in some way.
I think the biggest thing that from where I started from and where we are now, when I started out, I had an Astros A50 headset and a decent computer to play games and a small Logitech camera. Didn't think nothing of it. I was just playing games to have fun. But I look back on those clips from my very first stream, and the audio quality was just hot garbage. And that's the thing is, I keep those around because it shows you your humble beginnings of like where you started.
Mhm.
I think the biggest thing, as you said, like, what do I wish I know now that I wish I knew back then, is do not expect to be great at everything off the rip because you're gonna falter, you're gonna have hiccups. Honestly, who does not have tech issues? If you don't have tech issues, you're not streaming. That's 100% true.
Facts.
Um, so the biggest thing is just when you stream something that you are going to enjoy. Don't go out seeking views. understand that you are a small fish in a very, very large pond. So discoverability is going to be next to nothing. I think a lot of my people, when I got to my first affiliate, were 50 of my closest friends. And then we just spiraled out from there. I think I'm at like 560 something followers. I don't know. I stopped counting after two. So
Yeah.
um after 50, I stopped counting. It was after that we just hit milestones. And that's the thing, is just understand that playing something that you enjoy will be one, it will be more beneficial for you in the mental state because you're enjoying playing it. And then once you start learning how to balance reading chat, playing a game, and interacting with chat while playing a game, it's all about time and effort. Big thing. The other thing is it's expensive. I'll say that off the handle. Um, most most cameras you can get right now are like fairly marketable. I think like the most expensive decent 1080p cameras like somewhere up around the 190s, maybe 200s.
Mhm.
So, start low. A Logitech C920 does well for starting out. And that's like a 50 to $70 camera.
Yeah.
Your Hypercast Quad S, I think, microphone plug and play. Good quality audio for that, for a plug and play. You do not have to have an XLR mic or a Shure microphone or any of the stuff that you see big streamers using every day, like a DSLR camera. A DSLR is like anywhere from like five to $1,000 for a decent one, and that's not including all the hardware that goes into the computer. The computer is also, a fairly big investment. Um, I think if I tallied up all the money that I've spent in streaming up to this point, I'm in it for about, ooh, I'll be ashamed to say it, but I think I'm in it for about 7 to 8 grand just in PCs and equipment. Like I've got a Go XLR, which does all my audio mixing. So I can, play with, turning chat down, or I can turn my music up, so on and so forth. A Stream Deck, peripherals in general, like a Logitech mice, because I enjoy Logitech. My light that's right behind me, which is the, Elgato Keylight Mini, $100. And it's a lot. It adds up over time, but all of that aside means nothing if you're not having fun. That's the biggest thing. Have fun. Play a game that you enjoy. If you enjoy beating the crap out of little kids in Fortnite, have fun with it. Go for it. Tell them who's boss. Tell them to get back to the lobby. Whatever. If you enjoy playing, uh, real time strategy games, and that's your thing, Civ 6 or Age of Empires for those of us who had Windows 95 growing up, Windows 98, Windows 2000, something like that. Play it, have fun, but have fun. That's the biggest part. Is I can't stress that enough. If you're not having fun while streaming, then no one's going to be there to watch you have fun or be entertaining. And then after you've kind of mastered the art of like, okay, I can play and I can chat at the same time. I want to try something new. Always venture for something new. Gamble on it. Well, I've never thought I would be as successful playing Dungeons and Dragons and streaming it as I am now, and that was all on a whim. Honestly, I just said, "I enjoy this. I'm gonna see if other people enjoy it," and I found, like, 2 great communities that enjoy it, and we've just been collaborating the entire time. Uh, Gamble on it. Take a risk. Understand that views don't mean, uh, you know views mean something. Um, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to, how are you playing it? If you're having fun, people will find you and they will want to words, gravitate towards you having fun. And that's the biggest thing. Again, you don't have to have the greatest of stuff to be successful at all. It is a good help to have decent audio. It is a good help to have a decent PC, but you don't have to have that. You really don't. As long as you're having fun, other people will come and watch you have fun. And that's really all I got on that one.
No, I think that's sound advice. I think if you jump into streaming thinking you're gonna be the next whoever, throw a name out there, you're in for a rude awakening. But if you just go out there and have fun, you will meet great people. You will build good, lifelong relationships, and you will start to amass a community around you. And yeah. I think I'm one of the worst video game players in the world. That's just facts. That's not trying to be humble or anything. I'm just really bad at video games. I've always been my entire life, but I enjoy playing them. But most of all, I enjoy meeting people and interacting through the video game.
Mhm.
And I think you're right as far as find something that you want to do. Like I've been wanting to do this before I even started streaming. I've always wanted to do a podcast. It's just been something that has kind of been there in the back of my mind for quite a long time. And I talked to you about it, and you're like, go for it. And yeah, I'll be your first guest. And, you helped me launch my dream. And, we're 5 episodes in, and I couldn't be happier. I don't know what the numbers are. I don't even really look at them. Views are important, and I love everyone that comes through and checks it out, whether it's here or they go to the YouTube and watch it. But I'm doing something that I want to do. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And if other people enjoy it and they get something out of it, then that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm actually enjoying this more than actually playing games on stream right now. So,
And that's the thing. I didn't think I was very entertaining on gaming, but I found my niche being more of the chatting. I enjoyed chatting with people. I enjoyed creating what I have created now, which before I moved and before I transitioned out of the Navy, I used to do a Sunday mental health check-in with people. And I still want to do that. I really do, but I'm also like reevaluating like my own things. Like, am I going to have the energy to come in and take on the troubles of someone else who may be in dire straits, right?
yeah.
Am I at that capacity to do that? So without, risk and reward, that's where I kind of draw the line. It's like, am I willing to take the risk of someone saying they need true professional help and I can't provide, an outlet for that. So it is with risk that I have had to kind of back off the mental health check-ins. I enjoyed them. I really did. I enjoyed being that person that they could come in on a Sunday afternoon and just say, "Hey, I'm not feeling the greatest. Can I just like unload, what's going on?" Sure, you could totally do that, but the issue was um I my cup runneth over, but it's actually it's fairly full with my own in real, real life situations. So I can't help those if I can't help myself. And I know that my own community said, take care of yourself first. Because if um you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of others? So and that's the thing. I enjoyed the just chatting, even if I'm just sitting there listening to music and just someone comes in and we just, BS for hours and hours on end. I enjoy it. I enjoy being someone to talk to. Like I said, I'm not the greatest gamer. Like Redeemed says he's not the greatest gamer, but I've seen his movement in Apex. It's pretty a lot better than mine. Holy crap. um,
The movement's good. The aim is terrible. That's where I fall
oh,
short.
that's where I'm at too in Halo. Like my rotations are great, but my shots with the pistol are crap. So I feel you on that one. So it's kind of thing. Um just I don't know. There's so many things that I enjoy doing that I wish I could stream, but at the same time, like I will say this about turning a true hobby and something you enjoy into basically work, right? It you lose what is it they say? They say that if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life, right?
Mhm.
If you turn this into your main source of income, you know, good on you. you've done it. But now when you play the stuff that you used to enjoy as your leisurely thing, it's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
It's work. So, it's like clocking in again. If I just got off work and I wanted to come and stream every day playing one game for X amount of months, I'm not going to enjoy that game anymore because then I've just clocked out of one job and I clocked into another.
I think
So,
that's the reality that a lot of people don't see. They'll see their favorite streamer who has been playing, just say Call of Duty or Apex, or Fortnite, or any of the most popular games out there.
right.
They have been playing it for years at a really high level, and you can, if you watch, a lot of times they'll put on that good face, but honestly, you can see their frustration in playing the same game over and over, and they feel stuck because it is their source of income, and if they switch, they will lose
Hmm.
viewership. That's just the way it is. Some people are there for you, and some people are there for the game, and you will see even smaller streamers will see if you switch things up, you will lose people. And if you're not depending on a source of income, then hey, great. It's I enjoyed them while they were here and they moved on. Maybe they'll come back sometime,
Yeah.
whatever. But if you're doing it to feed your family, then that becomes scary. So I think people need to realize when you do this, even if you're doing it for fun, it does take a toll on you to hit the live button and feel like you can consistently have to meet the stream schedule and everything. And there's times where I just check out and I have to because my family comes first, my mental health comes first. And so it's nothing personal against the people that come to watch me, the people in my community. I love them dearly and I try to keep up with them in direct messages and stuff. But like for my own well-being, there are times where I just have to walk away and
Oh,
just, you know,
100%.
and that's
Um,
okay.
yeah. And it's totally fine to not hit the live button. But I will say that, like, most days where you don't feel like hitting that live button, but you do end up
It's
being more rewarding. And
yeah,
that's
that's true.
100% honesty right there. There's days where I was just low energy, and I was just like, "Man, I'm just having a bum day, and I'm just gonna jump online because it brings me joy to, go live and play some Halo, whether it's win, lose, or draw, it's still fun to play the game, and if people show up, they show up, great. Most people do come in and then they cheer me up.
Yeah.
And then nine times out of 10 when I end the stream, I'm like, I'm really glad I hit the live button. But again, take into consideration for your own mental state. If you don't feel up to it, then don't push yourself. Grind, yes, grind for certain things, but in the long run, it's your mental state, it's your taking care of your main priorities. If you're doing this for a hobby, yes, it's fine either way as long as you communicate it. But if you're doing streaming for a main source of income, I wish you nothing but success. But understand that you have chosen that route and therefore you will suffer the consequences of said choice, whether good or bad.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of positives that come with it, but it's not all sunshine and
Yeah.
roses either.
There's definitely some, dark clouds out there for certain. And especially now, and the one thing that I will continuously applaud the people on the Twitch platform for their security. I don't know if you've seen this, but as of recent, we myself and my community were the target of a hate raid because of my veteran status. Um, a lot of them came in, were just like, yeah, it's like, why? Like, so there's security protocols in place for said hate raids because they do happen. And I enjoyed watching it because I would just see the names pop up in chat and it's just blocked or banned or banned, banned, banned. And it's like watching a bug zapper go off. It's like the 23rd century bug zapper for real. So just watching
That's
it happen in real time was like, yeah, cool. And like I understand why it happens is to throw you off your balance and to see how you react because most people are looking for reaction.
Mhm.
to outlandish claims and such. I'm like, okay, that's totally cool. You're not going to get a rise out of me more than, and out of anyone else. Cause one, I'm more focused on a game than I am, random person in chat who decides to say, oh, you're not a veteran. Oh, okay. Well, you can, see my DD214 and be on the way out.
Yeah. I will say that if you're just getting into streaming, there's a lot of platform wars going on now, and I won't get into that. You stream wherever you're comfortable, but I will say on Twitch, definitely they have a lot of good safety. You have shield mode where you can absolutely kind of lock the stream down, and it's just a button click. You can type in certain words that will automatically be kicked. There's all kinds of security. You can share information now. I saw in the latest update between streams on people that have been banned from your stream and the reason why, so people can kind of be prepared. So just know that if you're just getting into this, there's a lot of things you can do to protect your community. Because unfortunately, there's just a lot of bored people out there, and beyond that, there's a lot of hurt people out there, and hurt people hurt people. It's an old cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason because people are just looking for that reaction. They want to feel something or want you to feel something that they're feeling. So,
Right.
it is what it is, but there's don't be don't be discouraged by that. There's plenty of things, and then you can have super awesome mods,
Mm.
so that'll take care of you. So,
Yep. That's
uh,
definitely the best thing is having your mods as your closest friends because they know you better than sometimes you know yourself, and that's the scary part. So when something pops off and you look over and if they haven't caught it, you say, "Hey, someone take care of that," and then they'll take care of it. But again, the securities and safeties that are put in place on the platform are a lot better than some other platforms. So again, like choose your platform. It's not necessarily pick your lane and stick with it. Test it out,
yeah,
especially early on. What is it they say? They say fail spectacularly.
there you go.
Go out and fail spectacularly. Who cares? At that point, fail all the time. Like if you say you failed at streaming, hey, but you did it in spectacular fashion. And that's all that matters. Is you went out and you gave it your all, and you're not gonna win it 90, you're not gonna win every baseball game you go to. But I mean, if you got a good at bat, still better than still better than some people who just freeze at the plate. So, have take the risks, have fun with it, and don't be afraid to reach out, ask questions, get involved in other people's communities, and then pick brains. And, never forget where you came from. Be humble because
Uh,
if nothing else, it'll humble you pretty quick.
yeah, for sure. Uh, I think you made a good point there. I would say 90% of the people on most platforms are really decent people that are willing to help you out. And if you get involved in communities, especially, and really form relationships there, people will be more apt and actually go out of their way to help you. I know you've helped me a lot in my streaming journey. We've sat on Discord calls and tried to figure out PC problems and how to
Oh,
do
yeah.
this and that. So, uh, yeah, there's a lot of good people out of there that will, answer your questions. Will sit down and talk with you. I've sat down and talked with a lot of my streaming friends, not just about streaming, but life in general. And you can make some really good friendships through it all too. So if you go into it with the right mindset and are just a decent human being, it should go pretty well for you.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I know like the very first community that I joined, and when I was like in my streaming career, they were the most receptive, and I still talk to them to this day. Like they're not as active because life happens, we're all going through life together. So, and they don't stream at all really anymore. But again, I understand because they got a good job, they got work, they got families. So I understand it. But the ones that do stick around and come through and just say a hi once in a while from the original, the OG community, I appreciate them. A lot of them would have said like, "Man, look at where you've came from, like where you started to where you are now." And that was only like, I think when they said that, that was like a year ago when I was at my 2 year mark. Uh, like when I just hit my 2 year, they're like, "Man, you really like flourished in that short, what seems like a short amount of time, but it's 2 years is a lot. That's 48, or is that 48 months? That's 24. Yeah, no, 12, 24 months. Sorry, math is hard. Number one,
Words, math, it's all hard.
it's all hard. So, I'm also a little sunbaked from the heat out here. It's one thing they didn't tell me about Kansas. It's hot. Jeez, it's hot. But yeah, like that's the thing. Be respectful, be humble, and an encouraging word means a lot to someone. So, just enjoy it,
Yeah,
and never forget where you came from, man, because you can always go back to where you came from.
for sure. Well, I think we've covered ADHD, gaming, D&D, tabletop RPGs. We've ran the gauntlet, and it's
Yep.
been wonderful.
Oh,
I
it
don't want
always
to keep
is.
you too long. We're about an hour and a half in. But just want to give you an opportunity to talk about anything that you may have upcoming that you want to share, and then kind of give any plugs to not only your stream and schedule that you do. I'm having trouble with words now. I think I just had an aneurysm. But not only your streaming schedule, but I know you play in other communities. If you want to shout them out, podcast, anything like that, be a great time to do it now.
Yeah, I think for me, like my normal streaming schedule should go back next week, so at least Monday through Thursday. Mondays being Monday Night Mayhem, which is usually our Halo games. Tuesday with some D&D prep, world building, nerding out really. Obviously Wednesdays are our Dungeons and Dragons night, so we will be on episode 19 of Avernus. Then on Thursdays we just kind of hang out, chill, play random games, and then I take a break for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. On Fridays, it depends. It's kind of hard because I'm in several rotating Friday games between Goblin Tuesday and Lowell Gamers 89, which is one of my Australian community members in his game. So his is kind of hit and miss sometimes. Obviously, scheduling issues. He's also like 15 hours ahead of me, so I got to make sure I'm there on time. But every Sunday, as of current, I am in a game with Goblin Tuesday called Star to the Stars, which is our Starfinder game. So that's what I've been doing on the weekends, aside from a little bit of R&R. Um, I do believe if it's not, I think it's next Tuesday. We'll be doing some more Between the Beards with myself, Grimbeard Adventures, and Goblin Tuesday, where we talk about TTRPGs and questions from the communities about how to play this character, or what issues you've ran across as dungeon masters with certain players, so on and so forth. And I think food's thrown in there a little bit too, because who doesn't like talking about food? Um, from there, I do have a three-part game that I am in on August the 15th, 16th, and 17th with the creator of 3D Dice, which is our on-screen dice that we use during our Avernus games. I will be playing in a 3-day back-to-back game with them at 8:30. Yeah, 8:30 at night Eastern Standard Time. So look forward to that. I will definitely be posting more information about that in our Discord. Um, when I get all my ducks in a row finally. On the other note, obviously, the Discord is always open to anyone and everyone. We just ask that be respectful. A lot of our members are prior military and will not hash words or mix words. So they'll tell you like it is. But it's an amazing community. There's a few things in the mix for futures that I have to confirm with a few other leaderships to verify. But once that information comes out, I will definitely be passing that along. But other than that, that's really pretty much my thing in a glance right now. A lot of tabletop games, and a lot of administrative stuff I got to get working on. So, but
Cool.
Redeem, I appreciate you, and I thank you for the time. And it's always a pleasure being here on Redeeming the Time with you. As always is a pleasure being in your presence in general.
I the feeling is mutual, my friend. Always a good time. Before we get out of here, explanation point Discord in the chat. We'll bring up the Discord. You can follow that link and you can come join us. We have a good time in the Discord. I'm going to be much more active here since I'm kind of returning back to gaming and streaming and just being a normal human being, I guess. So you can find myself in there. You can find Rebel. There's always somebody in a chat somewhere looking for a conversation. So feel free to request access to those. Like Rebel said, be respectful or find the boot,
Yeah.
or the boot will find you.
Yeah.
But great community, really caring people. So don't miss the chance to jump in on that. You can find Rebel in several ways. He's been shouted out in the chat. You can click the QR code on the screen, or you can follow the link at the bottom that's been scrolling across the chat probably 10,000 times by now. But whatever you do, make sure you find him. Not only a great streamer, great human being, someone I'm happy to call a friend. And once again, thank you so much. It has been a absolute pleasure, and we're gonna do it again. Hopefully,
Oh,
if
yeah.
you're up for it. I think there's always stuff for us to talk about. So
Oh yeah, always something. We'll ADHD our way through it one way or another.
looking forward to it.
Always.
If you want to go ahead and sign off and tell everyone bye, we'll get out of here.
Yep. Well, everyone have a great rest of your day, evening, or afternoon, whatever time you're watching this. And remember that if no one's told you today, I'm proud of you and I'm glad you're here. Hopefully, you all have an amazing day. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you in the next one.
Amen. I'm with it. And as I always say, remember to take care of yourself. It's important. Take care of those around you. Even a kind word can change someone's day. God bless y'all. I love you. I'll see you next time. We're out.